Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Simply Done Concierge. Folks, we talk all the time. There's just no more hours in a day. So, how do you get to be in two places at once? The team at Simply Done Concierge can help you do that while you're out of the house. They can be in your house, meal prep, packing, walking the dog, all kinds of things like that, so you can expand your day and get more things done. If you'll go to simplydoneconcierge.com, fill out a form there on what you're looking for, they'll get back with you. I know they can help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you're not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and the surrounding towns. Each week, and in a couple days, it'll be 33 chapters gather, about 570 members or so. And our job is to help each other grow our business. And every now and then on the show, we love to go to the coast, visit our friends in the Wilmington area. And our local small business success story this week is Jeremy Gunn, owner of JBG Services. They are a painting powerhouse in the Wilmington area. Jeremy's part of Tropical Storm. They meet Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. at the Angus Grill near downtown Wilmington. So if you're ever in that area and you really want to be entertained at 8 in the morning and meet some movers and shakers, that is a group to go to. Jeremy, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good. So it's Monday morning. I know as a painter, there have been no emergency calls yet or people saying, "Oh, wait, I thought dot, dot, dot."
Well, it's been a little quiet this morning, yes, but that does happen from time to time.
Well, that's good. So Jeremy, and his wife, Billy, who we'll get to in a little bit, are owners of JBG Services. And last month they passed 2 years of staying in business. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And second of all, that's a crucial threshold for small businesses is to try to get to that 2 year mark. You happy where things are right now?
Oh yeah, very happy.
And the other thing we want to talk about is you guys are award winners yet again. You were recently named the best painting contractor for the second straight year by WWAY. And also, you received a Golden Pineapple Award from the Southport Oak Island Chamber of Commerce. You guys have been busy. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the Golden Pineapple Award is something they award down in Southport every quarter. And we've been fortunate enough for the last 7 quarters in a row to receive one. So that was our seventh one.
Wow, very good. I know you guys are active in a number of chambers, especially when you sick Billy on a chamber, stuff happens, the phone starts ringing, doesn't it?
Oh, you know it.
All right, so painting, most of us think we can paint. In reality, we can't because there's probably drips on the wall. I'm sure you've seen some curious completed jobs that the homeowner thought they finished and did a pretty good job on. But when do we know when we need to either do have the interior or exterior part of the house painted?
Well, probably one of the biggest questions that we get is, especially in a new construction, when somebody first gets into their house, generally what's on the walls is the construction grade finish. It's usually flat. Sometimes they'll tint it. They might have the option to select from some colors if they were to upgrade with the new build, but usually it's just a flat, chalky, dry finish. And that particular finish is just it's not a washable or durable finish. So if you're in that situation, the best thing you can do is consult us to put on something that's going to be a little more durable, washable, has some depth to it. And that also builds up a little bit of the integrity of the walls themselves. It helps the drywall stay intact, so to speak. Doesn't allow things to permeate. Um, Now, houses that have been lived in, walls have been nicked, dented, things like that, paint does diminish over time. So even if there was a good quality finish over, 10, 12, 13 years, sometimes of abuse and living in, that finish tends to feel about the same way. You'll know when it feels kind of dried out, kind of chalky. You want something to feel smooth, something you can take a rag and really wipe on it. So we can help guide you through that process and get the right finish on there for you.
Alright, so the interior paint job of somebody that just bought a house from a builder, that paint job and the quality of that paint is just designed to sell the house, isn't it?
That's right. And really, it's just a base. It's almost a primer coat. Now they call it a finished paint, but it really truly is just a good base for us to put something on. And we look at the light settings, how much natural light you get versus the unnatural light, and we can help you pick the sheen. There are numerous sheens to choose from flat all the way up through to a high gloss finish. And so walls generally take a matte or sometimes a eggshell to a satin finish, depending on how much light you get, how much use the room gets. And then from there, you get into your trim, which is anywhere from a satin to a semi-gloss to a full gloss finish. That goes on your doors and your trim. And you want something that's a little harder, dries almost to more of a ceramic feeling finish, has some self-leveling properties and can be washable.
We have had a number of people on the show in the home services world, and there's a window for air conditioners, roofs, stuff like that. What's kind of a under whatever normal circumstances are for a family, what's kind of a window for an interior paint job?
Well, it just depends on what's on there and what's been on there. Certain types of paints age differently over time. And the type of exposure and sun exposure that a house can get, whether it's an exterior finish or an interior finish, all those things, it just comes down to the quality. How was it applied? And what kind of wear and tear does that particular finish get? So you'll find HVAC is a great example. Down on the beach tends to rust out. Those exterior units tends to rust out because of all the salt in the air. It's going to be different when you're inland. Same type of thing. Finishes will do different things under certain circumstances. The amount of light they get, do they have pets in the house? How much humidity is in the house? So those are the types of things you have to look at. So really, it just comes down to our expertise being to come out and determine what that's going to need to really bring it up to a good standard.
The temperatures and the wind and everything at the beach generally leads to a paint job sooner than maybe in the triangle?
It can definitely. You're going to have a lot more abuse down there on down on the beach. You don't have as much shade. You have a lot more sun exposure. The weather can tend to be a little harsher down right on the coast there. So you'll have a faded paint job. Sometimes the seals around windows and things like that can fail. So we have the ability to come in and sometimes, depending, we might just have to be doing some caulking or, actually have to reset some trim and things like that, and then caulk everything in using the proper type of a seal.
Would it last longer in the mountains in cooler regions then? Maybe?
Again, really just depends on what's there.
Okay.
There are finishes made for harsher conditions. So if your painter is a good professional painter, they should know what you need, and we're here to guide them through what you should be using.
Do I think you have one of those seats in BNI where you're at a party and people find out you're a painter and Jeremy, real quick question for you. And then it's 10 minutes later, you're released from answering the question and the
Oh
7
yeah.
follow-ups, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And people always say, "Oh, well, I don't need my ceilings or my trim or anything like that painted, just the walls, just only the walls. What is it? I just want to change the color." And then from there we can get into the conversation. Well, what's your trim doing? Is it separating from the ground? How much does your dog scratch at it? Those types of things. And then they start really thinking, and then
Yeah.
oh yeah, I guess my whole house needs to be painted.
I think you guys enjoy, uh internet DIYers as probably as much as doctors enjoy internet patients who come in, "Well, doctor, I know what you just said, but I read this on the internet," and you're just shaking your head, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, or somebody who pulls up Consumer Reports or something like that, and they pull up the bear paint and things that are really geared for those weekend warriors.
Yeah.
The people that that paint's made for people to apply that don't know how to apply paint, and our crew of professionals, we use certain additives in paint in the right circumstances, and if you've got, for example, a door that has a wood grain look to it, you don't want to just blast real heavy, thick paint across that because you get brush strokes all over it. We actually add a product called Floetrol into the paint that helps it lay down naturally and gives that surface a nice, flat, solid, glossy look. And then you actually can see the wood grain that's in the door. You don't lose it. So those are just the types of
Yeah.
things you get when you hire a professional painter. How do you explain that to somebody, without really saying this is what we do? And someone who's a do-it-yourselfer or watches a YouTube video,
Yeah.
they don't know. They really don't understand. Anybody can change the color of a wall, but the end result is the difference between having a professional job and then somebody who watched a video.
Yeah, and you've been in the home services world long enough to know about 30 seconds into a conversation with a guy who thinks he knows everything that he doesn't know anything, does he?
Well, I mean, there's different levels of what people know. I mean, as long as you can admit that you've called a professional and that you're ready to listen to that professional, that's sometimes. I mean, oh, I could do it myself, but I just don't have time.
Yeah,
Those are some of my most favorite phone calls because that's when you get there, or just the wife will pick the colors as long as she's happy, and then usually that guy's the one who's more involved in
yeah,
picking the colors.
yeah,
It's just you gotta really take every situation, in customer service, in the customer service world. If that's all you can
yeah.
say.
And I don't generally like to make broad brush sexist comments, but there really aren't many guys who should be involved in the interior painting or decorating of their house.
Sometimes, but you'd be surprised actually, Mike, that it's funny because the guys will always be the first ones that'll be, oh no, just let her pick everything. But he always comes in and comes around the corner. I don't know if I like that color. And then we'll go down a whole nother rabbit hole. Happens all the time.
On your business card, do you have a painting expert slash marriage counselor?
Oh gosh, no, no, but we've certainly had to kind of sit back and watch things, simmer down just a smudge.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, so let's talk kids beating up painted walls. So
Oh yeah.
I've got 3 grandkids, 2 live in the same house. One is 5 years old, one is gonna be 10 months here shortly. And is there something we could paint a wall in one of their bedrooms where they could just draw on it and then clean it off?
Get him a chalkboard. No, don't draw on my paint job. No, no, I would never recommend that. There is actually paint that does look like a chalkboard type material. Honestly, I don't like doing it. It never really works truly like something like that. It just encourage them to not do it, maybe teach good habits.
I don't live in
But
a house, I don't
we
care.
can certainly put a good cleanable finish. Now, in a playroom, upgrading the finish from a matte all up to a satin
Yeah,
finish isn't the worst thing in the world. It's a little more durable. It's cleanable. You can really wipe and scrub a satin finish once it's dried and cured. But yeah, I mean, really, if you're going to invest in a complete interior house repaint,
yeah,
chalkboard's a good way to go. Paint easel, keep them in the middle of the room, lay down a drop cloth for
yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah, and it
Apron.
yeah, and everything's manageable until they find that, permanent Sharpie.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, so you've been in this, construction slash restoration slash home services world for, I think, about 21 years or so.
Yes.
Why start the painting company when you did, and what were those conversations like?
Well, for yeah, approximately 20 years, I worked in the insurance restoration industry. I started just by chance. I was at the time teaching martial arts, and one of my students had a little restoration slash dry out company. Long and the short of that just means that they would go in when there was a flood and cut out drywall, put in drying equipment. And so he needed some help with some demolition. And at the time, I was really good at breaking stuff. So yeah, sure, I'll come. I'll come do that. Demolition sounds great, and got a taste of it, and really learned that wow, here's a line of work where you're really helping people in the time of need. You get in on more of an emergency basis, and then that end result of getting somebody back into their house. And these people that are calling, they're not calling because they're excited. They're not calling because they were wanting to build a deck around their new pool or something. They're calling because a water line burst and half their house flooded, and they've got a graduation party coming up and they're freaking out, so they need help. And so that really, for me, drew me right into that line of work. And then I learned, wow, you can actually make a really good living. And so through that, starting as a technician and working my way through, I learned a lot of the construction trade, because restoration, you're touching everything. You're touching sheetrock work, you're touching framing, you're touching roofing. And so I learned very quickly what the components of that stuff was, and then using customer service skills began building a lot of different types of things through that. Project management, estimating, and all the way up through general management. Um, what really was the drive for me to stop doing that was that I just wanted out of that constant phone ringing. Phone would ring 24/7, 365. And I always wanted to do something on my own. And so when Billy and I were younger, we would paint houses on the side just to make a little side money, a little
Oh,
side
nice.
hustle, and the two of us together. She started coming in and I taught her how to tape and how to start cutting, and I would roll everything, and we'd paint a house in a weekend, or a chunk of a house in a weekend. And um, so when we started this, I just said, well, as an experiment, I will create some type of an LLC, try to get a little side work, and if it takes off, I'll quit my job. Well, I we started JBG Services with the idea of maybe doing some different things, but I called it a painting division because I knew how to paint. So we want to create that image of a multiple divisional company, and yet it was just me and my pickup truck and some painting equipment. Picked up a couple of side jobs, and really within about 6 weeks, I was ready to put my 2 weeks in at the current job I was at. Um, and then about a month and a half later, I was ready to hire somebody. Phone was
Nice.
ringing. I was finding myself working in the job, but then having to go break off and go do estimates. And I felt, well, if we hired somebody, at least I could keep the job moving. And from there, it's just been a snowball. We bought a van, we've hired additional people, but that big step of telling Billy, well, I'm going to quit my job today. That was an interesting conversation that morning, but she believed that we had it under control, and we just went for it. That was it.
Well, kudos to that, and back to the restoration thing for a second. Everybody needs to have a restoration company to call, because you're right, when stuff happens, it happens fast. But I'm amazed at the people in the restoration world that really know what they're doing, and they can salvage furniture and, keepsakes, because they get in there, they know what they're doing, they get out, they know how to dry them and store them and stuff like that. So, and that's a hard life too, because those floods don't happen 9 to 5, do they?
No, they don't, and they always seem to make the phone call on a Friday afternoon or a Friday evening, and
Yep.
or say, and yeah, we're on our way to dinner or something like that, and U-turn, go home, change, go to work. That's what that life was. But it provided for my family. It
Yep.
really was a great, living, and I really enjoyed it. I truly did. It was, and I learned so much, just different ways to do different types of things, which is probably why our business focuses so much on the residential side.
Yeah. So what got you guys down to Wilmington?
Well, we just didn't care for the weather. I have a son
And in
who,
Michigan.
yeah,
Yep.
we come from
Yep.
Detroit,
Just
Michigan.
let
Yeah,
everybody know. Yep. So,
yeah, yep, yeah. I have a son who went into the Marine Corps, and he married his high school sweetheart, and we needed a reason to get out. We were planning on leaving. And so we worked our way down here, weren't quite sure what we were going to do, and rented a house for a year up in Jacksonville. Hated it. It was, but we found Wilmington kind of through that process, and both of us just fell in love with it. And my son has moved out to Arizona, but we stayed. We put down roots, and we met some of the best people here that we've ever known, and we've made great friends. And that's where it's at. We're not going anywhere. We love it here.
Great place to retire. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Um, Going through your Facebook page, I always do my research for the show.
Okay.
And Billy had posted a couple of months ago that 4 out of 5 painters for JBG are women.
Yeah.
I
Actually, all of them are right now. We have all women.
Wow, I'd have lost that bet, man.
Yeah. No,
Now,
they're amazing.
yeah, well, they again, a fem again, don't wanna make a sexist comment, but the female eye that has a little bit has some design eye to them and the detail and the color matching, man, that's priceless inside a house.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're just they really they'll do anything. The four that we have currently right now, we've got some of the finest wall finishers, like mudding and fixing the sheetrock. I've got a lady who's amazing, probably the best I've ever seen in the 23 years I've been in the construction industry. They'll spray, they'll climb, they'll set up scaffolding, and they'll get right in fine detail with tiny little artist brushes in between pieces of trim that you just never would have. They're really good at what they do, and super proud of the crew. They come into work on time. They wear our shirts with pride. They love our logo. I mean, it's really a good. They establish great relationships with our customers. It's a great thing. They're great people.
I enjoy doing this show for a number of reasons, and number one is I like learning stuff because, again, I told you before I came on the air, I know what my life is like. I like to hear what everybody else is like, and I was not prepared for that, Jeremy, when I saw that post. I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me." It never even crossed my mind, so I
Yeah.
love that. Um,
We've had some guys that have worked for us,
yeah,
and I'm sure we'll have some fellas that'll work for us in the future. Right now, it's what's answered the ads. It's
yeah.
who's come in and interviewed the best, and they're great. They click. They come in, I get out of their way.
So it's 2 crews?
Well, we've got four women total that are full time, and we can split them up into two crews if we need to, or if we're on a large job, we'll put all four of them on. And or if we pull two, they'll go start something, and the other two will fall in behind. And we really try to stay on one or two projects at a time if we can. That gets us in there and gets us out. Because again, we don't paint apartments. We really don't paint much in the new construction world. We really work in people's houses while they're there. So it takes a lot of teamwork and communication to keep the people in their homes being able to use their kitchens and sleep in their beds at night when you're painting. Because when you think about it, you paint somebody's house, you touch every square inch of that house. You're in every corner, every nook and cranny. So you've got to be collected and organized, and be able to keep people happy.
And I know the answer to the question is a lot of them or most of them, but have you found certain jobs when you get a call for a specific type of painting job in a house that you kind of get fired up about because you enjoy watching your crew do that?
Well, we love just a nice, just interior that's fairly new, that's never been painted, because those are where the customers are usually really excited, because they're ready to change the color. They're ready to do something kind of fun. We recently painted a 3,000 square foot home, and it was just everything was white, the whole thing. And so we went through the color consultation with them. My wife and I will go to their house about a month prior, and we do a full color consultation. And I can get into how detailed that is if you'd like, but we take a lot of time with them and help them select colors that really base around the artwork they decorate with, pillows on their couches and things. So starting with those ideas and then letting that come to life. But when we show our crew, okay, these colors are what we're doing in this house, so we show them different things. They know, some of them know the colors. Oh, these are going to be great. So everybody gets excited, not just the homeowner, because we all are there to just create something, and it's fun, you know.
Oh, yeah, it changes. Well, when people walk in a house that they like
Yeah.
for whatever reason, location, paint job, whatever it is, just changes the mood when they walk in, doesn't it?
Right, right. The other probably jobs we get really excited about are the ones where you've had to do it yourselfer and somebody's come in and just botched it. They've picked the colors right out of the Crayola box
Yeah.
and they've tried to do things and they tried to be creative, and then we've come in and helped kind of put a lasso around them and get them into some more conservative, colors that are we look at the way rooms transition with each other. And if you're sitting in one room, what's the room next to you look like? Does it match? Does
Oh,
it blend well? Those are the types of things that we do in our color consultation. So to take a house that, looks like it was, I mean, you know, coming out of like romper room,
yeah.
sometimes the colors that people put on their walls, and bringing it, really toning it down, but making it inviting and nice and pleasant, and that's really exciting too because it just makes everybody happy.
Yeah. Um, One of the things what was I trying to get to? I had a great thought. Anyways, it'll come back to me. This happens a lot, folks. Oh, I know what it was. And I try to point this out when we have home services people on. Folks, please, anybody that's going to walk in your house, ask them for their certificate of insurance, because if they don't have it and they break a wrist in your house, your homeowner's insurance is going to pay for it if they want to make a big deal out of it. So
Oh yeah.
please find reputable folks going into your house. Oh, Jeremy,
We
I'm
will
amazed at
actually
that.
have our insurance company email them
Good,
directly.
good.
So it comes right from the source,
Yep,
fully, general liability, workers' comp, our complete policy. So they have it up to date.
yep.
They see it's current.
Yeah, and if a guy here's another tip to homeowners or renters, whoever's in the house. If a legit company like JBG comes around and they give you X price for an interior paint, and we call them in the industries chuck in a truck because there's no lettering on the truck, and they come in and it's 40% less, folks, that better be a big old red flag to you because there's a reason why it's 40% less.
That's right.
Oh, you've seen some horror stories, Jeremy. I know you've talked to homeowners that fell into this because, oh, it sounds good.
Yeah, and a good question to ask too, especially in the painting industry, is where do you get your paint?
Oh,
We don't buy our paint from the big box stores. We're very particular. I have representatives that I can reach out to for Benjamin Moore, or the Spectrum stores or the Sherwin-Williams stores that are on speed dial. And if I call them up and if I have an issue with an application, they'll come right to the house. Plus when I purchase paint, if I'm paying, buying paint directly from Sherwin-Williams or directly from the Spectrum or the, PBG or the Benjamin Moore store, those folks are the folks mixing it. I know who'd mixed the paint, when it was mixed. If you go to a big box store, the guy that's mixing paint may have just learned how to mix paint.
mhm.
And then if you have an issue with it, you don't know how long it's been sitting on the shelf, that nobody knows. There's no background. So um, also another big red flag would be if a person is telling you to go buy your own paint. That's there should never be, our prices are all inclusive.
Yeah.
Everything comes together. We give an estimate. It is for everything: labor, materials, tape, paper, the time to get there. Everything is all included. That's how we base our pricing, and it's all individualized on the job.
Yeah, and folks, that's what we pay for is that area of expertise, knowledge, and help. Should something go sideways, somebody's there to help you with it. That's what you pay for. You don't pay for, oh, they can do it for $72 an hour instead of $180 an hour. That's not what you're paying for. So,
That's right.
great point, Jeremy. And I'd forgotten about, I've heard sometimes like, Yeah, you buy the paint, we'll come and paint it. It's like,
Yeah, that's the worst.
yeah,
People will sometimes call me and tell me they already have the paint, and I have to politely explain to them that we don't do that. We
no,
provide the paint.
yep.
It's just part of our service. There's liability involved.
Yeah, you don't want to get that phone call. You told
Yeah.
them it's gonna be crappy on the wall, and they're like, "Yeah, I know, fine, but just use the paint we bought." You don't want that phone call in 3 weeks.
Well, and they might have picked it up and stored it in their shed or their
Yeah,
garage
yeah,
for a little while. The temperature did something to the inside of the can. So it takes all that liability away. It
yeah.
puts it all on us. You know, if we purchase the paint, we bring it into the home, we handle it, well, then it's our responsibility. And that's what you should be hiring a professional for.
Yeah.
You know, if I take my truck to go get an oil change, I'm not taking the oil there. They probably should have it there, you know.
That's a great analogy. I hadn't even thought of it that way.
I just thought of it.
Yeah. No, but you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've never been asked when I go to Jiffy Lube, wherever I go to get my oil change, they don't ever ask me, "Did you bring you the oil or do
Yeah,
you
did you
want to
bring the
use
oil
ours?"
with you? No, no.
All right. One of my favorite questions to ask married folks on the show. We've talked about your wife, Billy,
Yeah.
early on. Uh, how did you two meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
I would think she probably would tell the story the same way. I mean, for me, I was back in the days of my martial arts career, and I had just tested for an advanced belt, and I was excited. And nothing was going on. A buddy of mine was going to come over, and we were going to maybe go grab a beer. And it was cold because we're in Michigan, and it's cold there. And I ran out to his truck to go and realized, oh, I need a better coat. And I ran inside. And this is, of course, also before cell phones were anything. And my landline was ringing. Happened to be a friend that was going out for his sister's birthday, and there was going to be a bunch of women. And so I said to my buddy, hey, I got a place for us to go. Just happened to catch this phone call. And we went, and my wife just happened to be in the group of girls that were with his sister at her birthday gathering, and we talked all evening, danced a couple of times, exchanged phone numbers, and I called her the next day. And honestly, I think we talked every day since. We just hit it off, and that's it. We've gotten along. We've stuck together. I mean, that's just one of those stories. There's really as magical as it can be, I
Yeah.
guess.
I like those moment in times where, and you may have still met Billy because you had a common friend,
Yeah,
but you never know because, it's a big city. But
yeah.
if you hadn't needed to go back in the house to hear the phone ring, would things have been different? So I love those moments in time.
Very likely, because this individual too that called me was somebody that honestly I probably would talk to him once in every few months. It was such a random call to get at a random moment that I mean that just few moments of time to run into the house to grab that coat while that phone was ringing.
Yep.
I mean, the chances were I don't know if the universe could have been any other way. I don't know if it
Oh,
would
yeah.
have.
Yep. No, I'm
It
a
just,
believer in
you know,
that. Yeah.
that's how that worked. It was
Yeah.
so random.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Again, those moments in time where, wait, that wasn't supposed to happen, but I'm glad it did. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so I always like to ask, oh, by the way, are you easily a foot taller than Billy?
I think I'm pretty close to a foot
Yeah.
taller, yeah,
Yeah.
with maybe a slightly more. I think
Uh,
she's about 5 foot and I'm just over 6 foot. So
yeah.
yeah.
So, it's a great image, but you two, I mean, you go. That's, because you
Yeah.
look at
Oh
people,
yeah.
it's like, yep, yep, they fit. So,
Oh yeah.
all right. So, two questions I always like to ask husband and wife, small business owners, when they're both involved in the company, is what do you talk about after 5 o'clock and who breaks the tie?
I mean, gosh, there's always we're always one of us is always bouncing an idea off the other. I mean, the business is so young and it's evolved so much in the 2 years that we're constantly trying to come up with ideas and or we'll just have ideas. And when we see each other, because we're both so busy, when we see each other, it's almost like catching up sometimes. And okay, well, what happened today on my end? What happened on your end? And then we kind of collaborate. So it's it's on and off. I mean, we don't just talk about the business all the time after hours, but it's on and off. So we do, we don't, we do, we don't, I guess. I don't know. There's really no
Yeah.
icebreaker. I mean, we get along. That we're really fortunate because we get along and we listen to each other, and I respect her ideas and thoughts. And her background isn't in the construction world, so a lot of times her thoughts and ideas come from almost a consumer perspective,
Yep.
where I'm so immersed in it that I'm always thinking nuts and bolts and numbers and so it really works. It's a yin and yang.
And Billy is an ER nurse 2 nights a
Yes.
week. She's, Sunday, Monday nights, overnights,
Yeah.
and still does a ton of networking.
Oh yeah.
And you were telling me a quick story before we came on the air that, my comment was the things people see in the ER room, and your only answer was, "Yes, and we talk about it at dinner." So,
Yeah.
how does she lead into those questions or into those
Oh,
stories?
it'll just be sometimes something will just kind of come up, and we joke because it might be something that's just so common for her,
Yeah.
but maybe not an appropriate dinner conversation, but it'll come up, and or it'll be after dinner, and then she'll just be, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't, I'm like, no, go ahead, I'm so used to it now." Um, but that's just, you're married to a nurse now.
Yeah.
Um, Being that it's only 2 days a week, maybe it's not as frequent. JBG has really contributed to her now going to the part-time hours, which is really nice. Um, but it's still there. I mean,
Yeah.
she still goes. There's still 2 days of it, and she'll give me the rundown.
On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights when she's not in the hospital working, and it's late, 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the evening, you're kinda getting ready to wind down. Of the 2 of you, which one is more likely to say, "Hey, let me check a couple emails before I go to bed?"
Oh, I think about that time we're done. There's really not. Yeah, those have been handled, the emails. And I mean, nowadays with your phones, I mean, you've always got them in front of you. So if something pops up, it's pretty easy to take a look at something and just kind of, put it on the back burner till tomorrow. Or we're both so used to doing things in an immediate way, and we've both worked so many odd hours that there really isn't it's not a big deal. My life for so many years was that constant, having to answer questions,
Mhm.
having to do this, having to do that. I mean, you'd tear somebody's walls out on a Friday night, and you were communicating with them all the weekend long because they wanted to know what was coming. So we're so both in tune with that type of customer service that it really doesn't. If we get an email at night, we answer, we handle it. Phone might ring, we take care of it. I mean, that's not either, both of us will. So
Alright, so let's go back to before this great career started. You went to St. Clair Community College, and I have it listed as you were, focusing on business and pre-nursing.
that's right.
So, how'd you get to pre-nursing, and then how do we get to you being a kick-ass paint, owner?
Well, it was in the restoration industry at the time. This was way early in the career. I was cleaning carpets, doing some water damage and fire damage work, and hanging a little drywall, painting, really swinging a hammer a lot. And my wife, Billy, actually had gotten sick.
Mm,
She had a brain tumor. And so we went through that and talking with surgeons and things, and kind of smacked me in the face how much I didn't know and how I really felt I want to just educate myself, with what was going on in our lives. And so I started going to school at night, and I took my prerequisites for nursing. I took uh, a lot of different biology classes, anatomy and physiology, and everything else that kind of goes with what you do in that career. And my person that I was working for at the time knew I was doing that, and that also springboarded my restoration career. He just said, "What are your plans?" And I told him I was going to become a nurse because I was just looking at a career. I was just looking at my future, and He made me a huge offer in the learning the estimating and the project management side, and um, so I moved into business. I changed majors, and um, my my goal at the time was to buy the company I was working for. But that didn't pan out, but I still learned a lot. That's really kind of what all that was about.
Interesting. And when I first met Billy, I've known you guys probably about, I don't know, what are we going on, 8 months, 9 months since I started working with the chapters in Wilmington. And I looked at Billy. I had to pull her aside one day because I'm always painfully aware of if I'm staring at someone. And so I pulled Billy aside one day and said, "Look, you're going to find me staring at you because she looks exactly like one of the favorite moms in the neighborhood I grew up in."
Okay.
And I said, "Billy, every time I look at you, I see her and it just makes me smile. So if you ever see me staring at you, it's that reason and that reason only." And she was great about it. But I mean, dead ringers for each other. They could be sisters.
Wow.
Yeah. And so again, makes me happy because every time I see Billy, I think of this mom in the neighborhood where I grew up in the neighborhood. So all kinds of great memories. So
Oh, that's cool.
all right. So on your BNI bio sheet, under the something people don't know about me.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, exactly. You're actually banned from going into Canada?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's the truth. So okay, we're gonna talk about this. So my in Michigan, obviously in the United States, the drinking age is 21, but in Canada it's 19.
Oh,
Where we live, where we grew up and lived, right there at the border of the thumb, and we all know, this is Michigan, this is Detroit, and Canada is right over here. So you cross over the Ambassador Bridge or the Blue Water Bridge, you're in Canada. So at 19 years old, you can go to the bar and you can go to the casinos and you can drink. And before 9/11, you just pop over the bridge and yeah, citizenship, US. What are you doing? Going to the bar. Okay, have fun. And that's it. And then you come back over. Where are you guys at? At the bar. Okay, drive safe. Go home. Well, I was young and stupid and went across and had too much fun one night, and fairly inexperienced driver with a rear wheel drive car, because I had a front wheel drive car, was driving somebody's car. It was a Monte Carlo with a 5.0 Mustang engine in it,
wow.
and ripped around a corner a little hard. And then, as you might know or may or might not know, to get yourself out of a tailspin in a front wheel drive car, you accelerate out of it.
Oh,
Well, in my brain, I thought, well, I got to hit the gas pedal. And I ripped around the corner, hopped over a curb, and rolled the car, parked it in between a tree and a telephone pole. And then, in my infinite wisdom, tried to hide and run from the Canadian police. Almost got out of the country, made a phone call behind a convenience store, I got a scar on my head, had a little from a rear view mirror, had a little blood coming down from my forehead. Luckily, everybody was fine. I was the only one who sustained any sort of an injury. Um, I've got some folks that had come over to pick us up. I had just gotten in the vehicle and the police pulled up and got me, took me to jail, and I went
oh
to jail
no.
for the night. Yep, yep. I was stupid and young. And so part of my sentencing was being banned from the country for one entire year. And to enter the country, I had to go before the magistrate after a year with a letter, formal apology, and explain to them how I had learned my lesson and that I was a good contributor to society. And if I were to come over to the country, I wouldn't ever do that again. so,
And did you live?
so, I can go there. I've been to Canada since. I've not run from the police ever again. I've not done any of that. But yeah, that's part of my. I was a little adventurous in the day.
I have heard
So,
that story about people living in New York or Michigan, and it's easy
yeah.
to get across the border. And hey,
Oh yeah.
yeah, again, all of us at that age were like, "Well, duh, of course
Yeah.
we're going to go across the."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was. It's a story to tell. That's for sure.
Oh, love that. Was it cheaper to drink over there than it was in Michigan?
Well, it was cool because the Canadian exchange at the time, yeah, you'd hit the when you go over the bridge, you would go through the duty free and change your money over. And so at the time, I can't remember what the exchange rate was, but if you gave them $50, a lot of times you'd walk away with about 75 or $80, and then you'd be able to, go to the bar and use
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I mean, it was I would say overall it was maybe the same, who knows,
Yeah.
but you couldn't spend any money in the United States, so we went to
Yes.
Canada.
Too good. All right. So, folks, we've been putting Jeremy's phone number up on the screen here during the show. Find a professional to walk into your house. Don't just let anybody walk in. All right, Jeremy, we are in almost the middle of June now. How about a tip for homeowners to look at their exterior paint? What would you want them to look for? Just walk around the house once and see if it's still in good shape.
Sure, sure. Almost the same type of a thing with the interior. You're going to run your hand across it, and you'll feel a chalky residue. It'll actually gather up on it's worse outside. You'll actually feel like a chalky, dried up residue. That's an indicator that it's starting to dry out. Look around your windows, around the window trim. Look for separation where things have been caulked. With some silicone, or if maybe they never were, that's an indication that that those windows need to be resealed, and very likely the trim paint needs to be reapplied. You can also have some situations inside your home. If you start to notice inside your home that the trim is separating around the window area, that may be because the exterior window is in need of some resealing. But those are the biggest indicators. The real faded one side that catches the light a little more.
Yeah.
Look at maybe under your porch where there's no light versus the side of the house that gets nailed with the sunlight. And if it's faded, that finish really needs to be done. And I don't recommend touch ups. You just shouldn't ever do it. Don't do one side of the house and then leave the other side. Just do it all. And it's not to inflate the job. It's not to turn it into something it shouldn't be. It's to give you a time and a date stamp that everything was done. It was done properly. You don't miss anything that way. And it's an investment. I mean, it's your house. So, your house is your biggest investment for most people. So don't cut corners and try to just, well, I'll do one side today and then I'll do another side next year, and it's just get it done. That's the best advice you can really get.
And folks, this is why you call professionals like Jeremy. It makes sense if you're going to protect it for that long, do it right the first time, and then one less thing to worry about. So, Jeremy, enjoyed having you on the show today. Love the stories. Not only on again the DIYers you come behind, but how and why you and Billy got started in the business. So I think it's a wonderful story, and congrats for 2 years.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Mike.
And we will see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.